So regular viewers to this channel will know that back in February I decided to manage my time a little bit differently in April and May. And the biggest change that I've made is that this year I'm putting the allotment first, and then when I've got spare time I'm hiking and cycling. Last year I was just so tempted to get out in the hills and cycling that I kind of got a bit of a backlog of allotment work and got a bit behind, felt a bit overwhelmed, and was definitely very tired by the end of May. So this year I feel so much more relaxed about it all. On Monday I got stuck into clearing the collet bed, and the reason I decided to clear it was I noticed quite a bit of cabbage aphid on the flower stems and the flowers as this kind of opening. And as soon as I see cabbage aphid, basically I take brassicas out because I just hate it as a pest and I don't want it to spread to my other brassica beds. I removed the roots of the colettes this time. Normally I leave the roots in the ground to rot down and mulch over them and plant into the mulch, but this year, because I'm building a new carrot bed, I obviously didn't want to leave brassica roots in a carrot bed, so I took those out and I built a new mega-coldframe. I'll go into why I've done that in a new video, but I was really pleased because I love building things and it went really nicely. If there's one thing I'm an expert in, it's building cold frames. Morning I noticed flowers on my early tomatoes. I've tried early tomatoes so many different ways and I've never been happy with them. Every year I tell myself I'm not going to do early tomatoes again, and then every year I think of a different way of doing it, and this year I've decided to do them in hanging baskets, and I'm doing tumbler as the variety because it's one of my favourites. And yeah, so I was really excited to see those first flowers. But Tuesday morning was a babysitting day. We were out duck spotting and Willow absolutely loves it, and we saw a heron as well, which I know some people think of as just so incredibly boring because they see them every day, but for us it's kind of quite a highlight to see a heron, and Willow was absolutely ecstatic, squealing with delight. In the afternoon it was raining, so raining is a perfect day for sowing seeds, and I had a lot of seeds to sow. And again, regular viewers will know I'm not a big fan of sowing seeds, especially in the kind of quantities that I have to do them in. And but you know, I work my way through them, and I'm pretty efficient at sowing seeds, I've got to say, even though I don't like it. And I think the best way to enjoy something is to get good at it, so I keep on trying to get better and better at sowing seeds. And really for me that doesn't mean more precise or anything like that, it just means more efficient, get the job out of the way as quickly as possible. I'll put the seeds up the side, one of these sides here of the video, so you can see what I've got sowed. Pretty much that is probably about 80% of what I've got to sow in April, and the rest is basically potatoes and not really that much more, just regular successions of radish and things. Being well ahead, on Wednesday I went out for a nice cycle ride, and when I got back I decided that I would pop down to the allotment because the sun came out and I would do a bit of swapping around. So I brought half of my early tomatoes to the polytunnel and put them where half of the early strawberries are. And I took the other half of the half of the early strawberries back home, and about 2/3 of those I've hung up on my bean and pea climbing frame, and I'm just going to leave those outside, and then the other third I've left in the polytunnel, in the conservatory. So my strategy, what I'm trying to achieve, is that the ones in the conservatory will come first, and so that'll give me some super early strawberries before the end of the month, hopefully. Then the ones in the polytunnel will come second, so they'll be in May, and then the ones outside on hanging frame will be sometime sort of later in May, and then the second earlies out in on the allotment will come, and then basically have a nice succession of strawberries going all the way through until, you know, September time. And we might even have some really late ones in the polytunnel Albion, which I've got out in containers outside. I love strawberries, and so the longer I can extend the season for them, the better. So all of those strawberries though, all the ones I just mentioned, they've all been in the polytunnel in hanging baskets. So basically I get them started nice and early in the polytunnel where I've got loads of space, and then I kind of spread them out so I get a nice staggered successional harvest times, as I've just described. I'm taking a little bit of a chance with the tomatoes now in the polytunnel, but because they're in hanging baskets and because there's only 4 of them, it's quite practical for me to do something with them to protect them in the event of a frost. Now, quite high up in the polytunnel, they don't tend to get a frost. I've never lost a strawberry, for example, to a frost, but you know, if there is going to be a frost, you know, -2, -3, something like that, and that's quite possible up until sort of the middle of May, I can just move them into the greenhouse or the shed, or even, you know, at worst, I could just move them home again. So I'm pretty confident though that they're going to enjoy it in the polytunnel for the next few weeks, because the long range forecast shows no frosts, really nice sunny weather. I think they're going to be better in the polytunnel than they are in the conservatory. Much higher light levels in the polytunnel than I can achieve in the conservatory. It's lovely and warm. It's not that cold at night. It's sort of 5 or 6 degrees. So, you know, obviously they would prefer it above 10 degrees, but we'll see. It's an experiment. Hopefully I'll get some nice early ones. As I say, I've kept a few at home just by way of comparison. The other thing that I decided to do while I was down here was take the low tunnel off the early peas and lettuce bed. And that's because the peas, they're getting a bit hot in there now, and so want to just get them out into the fresh air, and they really thrive in this kind of weather. You know, light winds, moderate temperatures, quite a lot of sunshine, perfect weather really for peas. So got those out, and just in time actually, because I was seeing a little bit of damage to some of the leaf tips where they'd been overheating a little bit, and I moved the low tunnel that had been over those onto my cauliflower bed. Now, strictly speaking, cauliflowers don't really need a low tunnel at this time of year. They're perfectly content to be outside, but I don't have a netted tunnel going spare, and so the pigeons would come in and start wreaking havoc on them. So it's the low tunnel, and I'll just leave it open and nicely ventilated. They will be nice and warm. They don't mind it warm. In fact, I've had some amazing cauliflowers out of this polytunnel in sort of late May, or mid to late May, and so I'm pretty confident that you know, nice warm sheltered conditions are great for cauliflowers in spring. Also planted out my, well, I don't know what you might call it, probably early main crop beetroot, and yeah, so that's nice and under fleece at the moment. I'm not really sure that it needs to be under fleece actually, given the weather conditions, but I had the fleece handy, and I've interplanted that with onions, and that means now I think we've got somewhere in the region of 450 onions in the ground, which is all of the onions that I'm growing from seed, and I've got another 100 or so that I'm growing from sets. So very close now to being fully planted with onions. So it's Friday, Thursday I was out cycling again, and we actually brought the early tomatoes into the polytunnel, and that is mainly about light levels. The conservatory doesn't get very good light levels all day long, and even when it does get a lot of sun, it's always from one side. So they're much happier in the polytunnel where they're getting, you know, nice diffuse light. Of course, it's still a little bit cold, and so have made little fleece tents for them, just in case we are, you know, any sort of threat of frost. To be honest, high up in the polytunnel, you know, a long way away from any ground frost, they always seem to be fine. So anyway, I'm really pleased to get those in the polytunnel. I wish I'd done a few more of them actually, but there's always next year. But my main project for Friday is making a start at least on getting all of the traditional first, second early and main crop potatoes in the ground. I put them all in at the same time because obviously we've got loads of potatoes in the ground already that we'll be harvesting actually probably from next week onwards until about August, and then the ones that we're putting in the ground now will kind of be harvested August, mid-August probably onwards. I've also brought my first early courgettes to the polytunnel. I'll just leave them a couple of days to acclimatise, and that gives me a chance to harvest the kale, which I planted into the same containers that I've currently earmarked for the courgettes. It's been a useful little experiment, that, to see whether I can get a good crop of kale-an out of the same containers in a really short planting window, and it's such a fast grower that yeah, it's been great, and we've had I think we've had 3 harvests off it before we take it out, and it is starting to show signs of going to seed. And on that theme of things going to seed, all of the white Lisbon salad onions that I sowed back in sort of the middle of August through to early September and planted outside, they've all gone to seed. I guess it's just the freak sort of very mild weather that we've been having. Fortunately, all of the ones that are undercover, that were planted a bit later, sort of middle of September sort of time, they are still all fine. And so it's quite strange really for the undercover ones to be fine and the outside ones to be going to seed. It's normally the other way around, but you never can tell, and that's why I'm always a big fan, particularly with something like salad onions and early Japanese style onions, of sowing a few successions and dealing with them according to the weather conditions. So sometimes it means harvesting them early as salad onions, sometimes it means leaving them until July to mature, sometimes it means harvesting them as kind of early green onions in sort of May time, and you're never quite sure which batch is going to be treated in which way. It's very, very weather dependent. All that's left is for the harvest. So here's the harvest, another stunner. I just love this time of year, it's so great. Anyway, let's quickly step you through. So last of the potatoes, apart from new potatoes, now until the end of the month. Not quite the last of the carrots, we've got one more harvest of carrots. Beetroot from the store, we had to cut this one up because it was going bad. That's kind of what we expect now at this time of year. There'll be a few odd bad beetroot, but actually the quality of the beetroot is still great when it comes to tasting it. Onions, you can see just a few of them starting to sprout. No problem at all, just take the centres out if you don't want to eat that bit. Green garlic, loads of green garlic to come. We love green garlic, but we're not picking that much of it right now because it's growing so fast. It just seems such a waste to pick it when it's so small. And we've still got loads of leeks, so these are the last of the spring leeks. We think actually of green garlic, as our sort of late spring kind of summer leek, and it's great used that way. I've got some celery in there, quite a bit actually, and these are, this is strange actually, something I've never experienced before, which are white Lisbon salad onions that have gone to seed. So they're great for cooking, so who cares really, but that's quite unusual. Masses and masses of purple sprouting broccoli, of course, at this time of year, and some lovely calabrese as well. Just a nice selection of the types of preserves that we've still got left. We've got jams, marmalade, pickled red cabbage, chutney, more jam, and passata. So we'll have that, plenty of that to keep us going until this year's harvest. An amazing array, I think, of brassicas still at this time of year. So lots of cabbage, lots of kale-an, lots of perennial kale, loads of colette leaves, obviously loads of traditional kale leaves. Really lovely selection. No hearted cabbages right now, but that's no loss. Field bean tips, of course. I think it's always a staple for us at this time of year. Well, actually, all through winter and spring. Welcome Asian greens. I think this is Tay Sai or Joy Choi. Really beautiful. These stems are just like such a delight. And then we've got come on, come on, come on. Chard, and just rhubarb chard I think, and some bright lights chard as well. Parsley, and this is the new season spinach, so this is red kitten. This is gorgeous stuff, absolutely gorgeous. And this is kind of the dregs of the overwintered spinach, and that is giant winter. And just these are like little baby kale leaves. So these are some overwintered plants that are just getting pulled out actually this week. And so I just picked all these little baby leaves, and they're just absolutely, I love them. And radishes, pretty big at the moment, the radishes. I can't keep up with them. I've got so many radishes, and you know, radishes, they always just all come together because they just grow so fast at this time of year. And the salad onions, so that's a great harvest. A great harvest. So yeah, I've just got to do the salads now, and here's the salad harvests. Bit of a double decker going on here, but lovely mix of Asian greens and lettuce and radish and spring onions and spring onion tops, and I've added a few tomatoes and grapes and things to the mix. Hope you like that quick video. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.